Hey, good, good, good. Let's just say greetings to everybody. Welcome to another episode. This is episode 13 of I'm Not Complaining, I'm Just Saying, entitled The Charter. So, main purpose of this particular episode is to educate. I'll be very blunt. Yes, I am pro charter, but I'm more pro education. And regardless, I'm not here to tell you to vote for or against the charter. I'm here to simply provide information. Contrary to what you may see on social media, I don't see a lot of people saying, hey, vote for charter. What they're saying is this is what the charter has to offer. What's wrong with it? Why don't you like it? I can understand if there are people that oppose the charter because of the variety of different reasons or things that are in the charter. I can respect that. Very, very little respect I can give to people that say flat out no. One, who haven't read the charter at all. Two, they've been saying no from day one. Three, they try to go back to 2014 when it was rejected. And to be honest with you, it was piss poor education on the charter because I lived here. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know, should have known, but I didn't even know that it was a topic of discussion. So that was purposely done. And you have those that will go out with these scare tactics, and I'm going to go over that as well. So you, as the voter, can make an informed, educated decision on how you want to vote. Now, you're going to run into those are going to tell you no because it's based on these assumptions. Unfortunately, you have a sitting, or actually two sitting commissioners that are opposed to it. One has been very vocal. The other one, I don't know if she's been vocal. That's Commissioner Stewart, because I've been blocked from her personal page for some time, although she discussed at that time, I don't know if she still does it, anything related to county government. So from my understanding, and I could be wrong, is that you can't block somebody if you're gonna use your personal page also as um, to conduct business or talk about business or anything related to the government job in which you were elected for. But I don't know, neither here or there. So what I want to start out with before I share my screen is, and please give me a second, 'cause I'm trying to find something. Is I just want to say that the public comment, well, not public comments. What I'm going to discuss today really is for the new or what some people on social media. And look, I didn't make this stuff up. This is what I see when they refer to, and I'm gonna say us looking like me as these people, recreators, PG County South, and just be blunt, black folks. That's who they talking about when you hear people say that we don't want to be like PG County, nor um, we don't want those people here. And I'm like, who the hell is those? But people can spin it all they want. That's what they're talking about. And yes, you can be black and be saying the same thing. And there are a couple of them out there. It is what it is. But both Commissioner Bowling and Stewart, they have done their best to let you know they're against the charter. But also they spread disinformation and in some case straight lied. Waldorf is the third largest black populated city in the state of Maryland. I'm sorry, it's the, wait a minute, did I get that right? Yes, the third. I'm sorry, it's the third. And Waldorf itself is, I believe, the fourth or fifth largest city in the state of Maryland. And with Baltimore City and PG County being first and second, respectively, when it comes to black population. So the question arises to me is why why would why would someone have an issue with a charter? Now, what some of you may not know is that both the commissioners, they don't have an issue with Waldorf possibly becoming a municipality. I want y'all to try to make that make make that make sense, because, and my thing is, it because both, or their hardcore constituents are okay with black folks governing themselves as long as it's not parts of Charles County that aren't predominantly black. I don't know, but you have to make that make sense to me. You're okay with Waldorf being a municipality, but you're totally against charter for the entire county. And I've said this before. They really don't want accountability. They want control of those that hold them accountable. That's what they want. This is my honest opinion. Well, the charter, and you'll see, it is more accountable. It has more accountability measures in it than any of the other charters in the state of Maryland. If you don't believe me, you can compare our current home rule and the remaining counties, and that's really is right there, black and white. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started off my soapbox. Take whatever information you can from this, and I highly encourage you to read the charter in its entirety. I've read it like 4 times. Every time I read it, I end up, oh, okay, I don't know how I skipped that. But what I will say is that I'm not going over the entire charter. I'm just going over things that stood out to me that I said, you know what? That's really important to know. So with that, let me share my screen. Give me a second. And I hope everyone is doing okay. Oh, here we go. Okay. Let me go ahead. Oops. Uh-oh, what happened? All right. And all right, so let me skip. So if you look right here, the commissioner, I'm gonna pick on Commissioner Bowling because he's been very vocal. Although he said he wasn't going to talk about the or debate or discuss, whatever you want to call it, the charter until he receives the final draft. He's been doing this day one. So that point, he's straight lying. When I talk about people lying, he lied. He can twist it how he wants. He lied. He's a political liar. But when you look at this, as can't keep our home rule, we can't afford to pay our teachers more, goes down a whole spew of things of why you should be opposed to the charter. But what he fails to mention is that you can't pay teachers more if you don't have the money. The only way you're gonna get the money is by cutting services or raising some form of a tax or something, or you got to do something. Because when you look at our budget is I believe in 2019 it was $467 million operating budget. All that under home rule. It's $561 million. It went up almost $100 million in 5 years. That's not the fault of a charter. That's not the fault of a home rule. That's the cost of business, the cost of government. Revenues went up. They said, hey, we got to spend this money. Teachers don't have to get more. I think they deserve it, but they don't have to. And there's a lot of other things that you have in here. So I just want to show you that. So, County Council Article 2. So what I have on my left column is what's in the home rule and what's in the current charter. So 4 districts, if you look, the 4 districts only and 1 at large, they all share that. Okay, so that none of that changed, same thing. And when I mean by 4 districts, I mean district only means that you have to live in that district, and you vote for the person who lives in that district. I think the residency requirement may be a year, which is different from the previous. So I believe it is, but like I said, I'm still reading, and it's not like I have it memorized. Right here, qualifications. Okay, actually, I was right. So here, and I believe you have to be a resident for 30 days. Now, if I'm wrong, I stand corrected and I apologize. But under current home rule, you have to be a resident of the county or district within 30 days. And the charter is a year. If you have to vacate the office due to like if you move outside the boundary, you have to vacate the office. That's both in homeroom and charter. Not permitted to hold another elected office or profit created by the Maryland Constitution. In home rule, you can't hold another elected office. In the charter, you can't. Can't remember about the profit part that, but at anyways, hold office in a municipality, that's no. So I don't think I meant to put that on there, but this one, employed in appointed office or non-elected position, whether paid, not paid, blah, blah, blah. So what this is saying is that if you are, say, uh elected official for the school board or circuit, I'm not, or wheels, whatever, you can't serve on an appointed board if you're in that position. Doesn't necessarily reflect the commissioners, because sometimes they have to be on those boards, but nobody else can do that. Currently, as it stands, if you're an elected official outside of county government, well, with outside of the commissioners, then you can run for an off. I mean, you can be appointed. All right. Term limits. As it stands now, there are no term limits. And when I have councilman, councilwoman, but there are no term limits in home rule. They are in charter. I know for a fact that Commissioner Bowling is against term limits. Why? I don't know. My guess is that he just wants to milk the cow. But all I know I've heard him say he's against term limits. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. But 2 consecutive, meaning that if you, and also, well, that's in the county exec part. But if you're running for county exec and you do 8 years, then you're done. You can't run for county exec again. For the councilman, as to say you do 2 terms, 8 years, you have to sit out 4 years and then you can come back. But why would I want to come back after that unless I'm retired? I don't know. But at any rate, there's attendance requirements, and there are no attendance requirements in home rule at all. Zilch. They can say there are none. What's good about this charter, if you miss, and I don't know what the threshold is, and maybe 25%, but if you miss a certain amount of meetings, then you are subject to a public hearing, meaning that you have to explain it to the public. Now, they can't force you to explain it to the public, but you have to be in front of the public and you have to explain it. And it doesn't look good if you're an elected official and you can't explain it. Elections have consequences. It is what it is. But also there's required town halls. In home rule, there is not. And I'll use Commissioner Rucci, former Commissioner Rucci, as an example. Much respect for him. I remember having a conversation with him. He's like, he's not really in public speaking. If you want to have a conversation with him one-on-one, you can. I respected that. So I didn't have an issue when he didn't have a town hall, but some people did. But guess what? It wasn't required. So because it wasn't required, you don't have to do it. Commissioner Stewart, same way. Sometimes she would go a long way without having a town hall, and then boom, it pop up the last minute. Obviously, I couldn't get to it, but the ones I could get to, I would go. Commissioner Coates, same situation. Well, guess what? They're required now. So regardless of how they feel, what's going on, in the charter, they must have these town halls. And I can't remember how many, but they have to have them. Right now, they don't. That go. Okay. And the county commissioners or the council, whatever you want to call them, during that time, they are both part-time. So you had one of the commissioners say that, I come in here full-time. That's, that's entirely up to him. I could do that too if I was retired. But as of now, it's going to stay part-time on both bases. I mean, on both home rule and charter. And you can't hold that against an elected official if it's a part-time position. To me, it doesn't say that you're more committed than somebody else. It just says you're using it a part-time position because you may have another job. Removal for office. Remember, there was a vote during this administration to put things in place and move somebody from the office, and it was declined. Well, guess what? In the charter, you have to do it. So you don't have to sit there and wait every administration when something comes up to have this vote, because guess what? You can go to the next administration and take it away. Here, you can't. The people, because the people assisted really a lot with the development of this charter, they're the only ones that could make that change. And it's going to take some time to make it, when this is the Constitution, like a constitution for us. So that's not something you constantly want to change all the time. But guess what? People wanted it. Now it's in there. I don't understand why you have the issue with it. We can't help what's now, but we can help what's going to happen in the future. And there's mechanisms in place to do that. Because now, if they put it in, it could be changed with another administration. They can say, you know what, we're going to do away with that. Although they'll listen to the public somewhat, another administration come in and change it. Here, they cannot change it. Period. Zilch. Nada. None. At all. Ever. Because it's about the people. So kind of funny when I listened to Commissioner Bowling, he said it's the people's government. No, it isn't. The home rule is not the people's government. It's your government based on your self-interest. And to sit here and say that, oh, we listen to the will of the people. Okay, ask the people about the WCD. Ask people about the property taxes. I don't recall anybody jumping up for joy, say raise up the property tax. Ask people, well, it passed last year, but it shouldn't pass this year, about, let's give government employees a day off after the Super Bowl. But you fiscally responsible. Things like that. That's that political hypocrisy. But moving on. Powers and duty, right? And this is an inspector general. This is something new. We don't have an inspector general. We have, I believe, a financial auditor, but this strictly deals with finances. But it's not like they have any investigative power per se. It's more of an audit. Here, under under charter, the inspector general, and it's a new position. So of course it's going to cost money to bring on this particular individual and staff, but they would pay for themselves. If you don't believe me, you can go to Maryland Association of Counties, or you can go on the link and you can listen to the Montgomery County Inspector General and have her explain it. She's the expert. So you're going to have these Facebook experts that are going to tell you, oh, no, blah, 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 doesn't work. Okay, but yet they're never been an inspector general, nor did they really analyze what this inspector general has done for Montgomery County and recouping a lot of fraud, waste, all the things that people sit here and complain about. The inspector general can do, meaning that they can conduct investigations, budgetary analysis, financial management, compliance, performance audits, similar reviews. The charter allows for this inspector general to do that. Also reports. Had an interesting conversation with, I guess he's an attorney. I really don't know. I'm thinking not, but who knows? But that said that the inspector general, for the most part, doesn't have any power, and there's not very little they can do. All I can say about this person is nothing. If there's an investigation, the inspector general is required to provide a counsel and general public a report after each investigation. So for those that remember the sergeant's report, the one that you were trying to get because you believe it belongs to the taxpayer, and you were denied, if the charter was in effect right now, you wouldn't even need to go through that because the inspector general would already have to provide it to you. So guess what? There's something in there that you didn't get from current home rule. And remember, with the home rule, you get another administration in, they could change that process. They cannot change this. Only the people can change this. So guess what? You're getting what you want. But to some people, that's just not good enough. Moving on. Legislative process. Before I get into this, basically, in a nutshell, it's saying, commissioners, now you actually got to work. You have to create policy, not rely on staff and all that to draft it up for you. You come back and look at it. No, you actually have to get in, because I've done policy. So I know how to do policy. And the chair, he knows how to do policy. He's a Princeton grad. I'm saying, believe he has a lot more experience than I do. But you actually have to get in there and do some work. And then, this is the thing before I get into the other part of it. People always crying or whining about commissioners not being there and all this other stuff. But when you try to get the attendance report, you got to dig for it yourself. Well, guess what? With the charter, the county clerk must publish both the attendance and town hall record of each council member twice per year. That means you get to see if they were there, not there. And if they've missed a lot, they were already had a public hearing having to explain. So when you talk about accountability, transparency, the home rule doesn't do that. I never heard Commissioner Bowling say, hey, let's go ahead and put this, well, put it like this. Everything that he is trying to propose is stuff that's already in the charter. And they say, oh, we can do this right now. But damn it, you could have did it a long time ago. You chose not to. You're only doing it because now it's just politically convenient for you to take the hard work that the charter board has been doing and then try to say, oh, this is what I'm trying to do. No, no, it wasn't even part of your campaign. And believe me, I know your campaign wasn't even part of it. Let's go on to the next one. All right, the executive. This is where most people, I guess, have the biggest issue, if you want to call it that. And they feel for whatever reason that the county executive will have sole power. It's no different than our state government or a federal government. There's checks and balances. Right now, the employees report directly in the charter, they will report directly to the executive. As it stands now, they don't report to the commissioners. They report to commissioner appointed county administrator who pretty much has been the county executive for 8 years. That was those duties that the commissioners would have normally had. I believe it was the Murphy administration that rewrote the procedures or whatever you want to call it and gave all that power to the county administrator. But I don't see nobody woofing and howling about that. Very, 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 put it like this, commissioners have very little power. Very little. They can sit here and say, oh, no, yeah, we do. No, you don't. You got very little power. I'm trying to think, what the hell we elect you for if you can't really do anything? But that's the process. That's how you operate under home rule. Also, preparing and submitting a budget. Commissioners don't have to prepare. Well, in fact, they don't prepare anything. What happens is prepared for them. They sit there, they listen, and they either say, well, maybe we can add. I can't recall what they said take away. But that's also done by the county administrator and I believe the budget director in collaboration. But here, the county executive would have to work with his budget people, and he has to prepare, submit, and present. That means he needs to actually know this budget when he presents it to the county council, and the county council is going to be the one that's going to make the final approval. They can add, and I'll get into that later. They can add, remove. You cannot really do that under the current home rule. And when I mean you can't do that, what I'm saying is like there's no particular commissioner that will submit a budget because they didn't do the budget. County administrator did. Meetings. County executive cabinet must reside in Charles County. So if you didn't know, probably the two top officials that are hired or appointed are the county attorney and county administrator. You're talking about the people that are supposed to, I'm not saying they don't, but how can you have a vested interest in the community in which you serve and you'll be here all day and you don't live here? How are you aware of what even's going on in Charles County? So the charter says, you know what? You're going to have to live here. It's just point blank. You're going to have to live here. I think it's like, I don't know if it's 3 months or 6 months, but you have to live here. That's in the charter, not in the home rule. And the required annual state of the county. Right now, Commissioner President Collins, he don't have to present anything. And I don't know why he would, because he doesn't even do the budget. That's the job, in my belief, of the county executive. And that's what it has in the charter. So that's the transparency, that's accountability, that's letting you know where are we at as Charles County when it comes to our fiscal well-being and our overall productivity as a government. I don't want to listen to 5 commissioners talk about that. I need one person, one voice. And that's why you need, that's why the county executive would do that. Now, Remember, there's a part in here, and I kind of skipped this one. Well, not skip, but I kind of like went off track because I've been hearing a lot about people saying, "Oh, you're going to raise the cost of government. You're going to raise taxes." Now, everything you see a check mark, those are home rule counties or a commissioner, but mostly home rule. Think Charles County went to home rule in 2015, but they were in a commissioner form, weren't in a charter form per se. So if you look at Charles County, they increased their property tax rate from 2011 each year once it got to 2014. That had nothing to do with charter form of government, but guess what? They raised it. If you lived here more than I say 20 years, well, I'll put it like this. If you lived here from 2011 to 2014, like myself, was there a lot of whining and hissing and fussing about this? I'm just curious. I don't know. I don't recall until 2014. I do remember that. I was like, what the hell? I do remember that. Look at Caroline. They went up each time. Maybe small amounts, but they still increased their property tax each year. Baltimore County's charter, they kept theirs constant. What people don't know about Baltimore County is that they have a lot of business revenue that comes in. It's a charter county. It's got a lot. If you've never been out there, believe me, you can do a lot more in Towson, just the town of Towson. You can do entire state of, entire county, and the entire Charles County. And I said again, you can do more in Towson than you can do in the entire Charles County when it comes to just basic amenities. I went to Towson, so I'm sorry. But if you look at Worcester, you see how they went up. So regards to the form of government, the property taxes will either go up or go down or stay constant. Has nothing to do with, oh, you go charter, stuff's gonna go up, because stuff goes up here. Like I told you before, I believe in 2019, we had a $467 million operating budget that skyrocketed to almost 561, almost roughly $100 million in a span of 5 years. But that's charter's fault, right? They're not even a charter government, so that's home rule. But back to this. So the term of office, county executive, and I said that earlier, they only can do 8 years total. That's it. And the home rule, they can run forever. They can have 3, 4, 6. What they can run until they get tired, or you get tired of them. Well, guess what? Regardless of how you feel about them, they get 8 years. That's it. Done. Qualifications, age requirement. Right now for home rule is 18. This one I was kind of on the fence. And the reason I say that is because as someone who has served in the military, we get a lot of training at the age of, and I joined when I was 17 and some change, and a lot of training 18. I was definitely more mature than most of my 18-year-old friends. I didn't supervise anybody per se, but there was a lot of things that I saw administratively, learning from literally people old enough to be my dad. Some people was old enough to be my brother and sister. But that training at 18 was far more advanced than the average 18-year-old that comes out of high school. So from that point, I can say, you know what? Yeah, maybe stay 18. But the average 18-year-old is not like the average 18-year-old who goes through any type of military training. So 25 to me is a okay range. I mean, okay age, because I believe for the most part, if you look at the delegates, I believe they have to be 25. So if you can be a state delegate at 25, you should at least be you can at least be a county executive 25. And right now, and they say that the commissioner president is full-time, but there's nothing in there that says he's full-time, if that makes sense. And if I'm wrong, I stand corrected. In the charter, full-time. Compensation, I believe the county Commissioner president, it's about 65,000. Be full time, goes to 150,000. And from what I understand, they just looked at all the charter board looked at all the salaries of charter board members, throughout the state, and they came up with that price. Because if you're gonna have somebody that's gonna work full time, because we'll put it like this: the county administrator gets 200 and something $1,000, and I'm just waiting for these anti-charter folks why they not upset and ripping and running and whatever. But actually, we're paying two. One's at acting, getting the same salary, and the other one is at home chilling. It's a whole different story for a whole different day. And this person's appointed, not elected. And then removal for office. I talked about this earlier, but there is a procedure in place that you can remove the county exec. There is really nothing in place for the commissioner president outside of, felonies and things like that. Those are standard, but what we're talking about is a mechanism to get rid of a county executive if they violate, the terms and the responsibilities. And but you have to read deeper into that. Next, I believe this is the last section, and I didn't do all of them. I only did the ones that really stand out to me. But in budget and finance, which is in Article 6, Commissioner President, County Exec must hold one public hearing September, December with each council member. No, they don't have to hold anything, right? And the county administrator would be the one. So if the county administrator chooses to do it, I guess he or she can do it, but they don't have to because they don't answer to the people. Nothing personally against the county administrator. They do not answer to the people. They actually really answer to themselves and indirectly answer to the commissioners. Read the contract. But in the charter, guess what? County exec has to answer to the people, has to have his public hearing. And then he or she has to hold one public hearing prior to April 15th for public comment. So right now, I don't recall them being a mandatory date or anything like that. I could be wrong, but as I'm trying to look through Charles County's home rule, I didn't see it, but it's required. And then county council public hearing. County council must have public hearing in terms of this budget, right? The commissioners don't. And I could be wrong on this one. I believe, you know what? I think I may be wrong on this one. I believe they do have to have a public hearing on the budget, but we really only get two, and they're real late in the year, so I don't really know what the public is gonna say or do that's gonna sway the budget. Because remember, keep in mind, county administrator does the budget. Commissioners look at it, make a decision whether or not we should increase or decrease, but there's not a lot of wiggle room because they didn't really develop the budget. So for this one, I may be wrong. So it may be yes all across the board, but in the charter, it's a must. In the home rule, it may not be a must. It may be a recommendation. I don't know. But if it is, I stand corrected. And for the action of the budget by the council, there's this myth that the county executive said, this is their budget. My decision is final. No, county council must approve the final budget. Then it can make changes and it's submitted by the county executive. Same thing really applies for home rule, but the county administrator does it. And then it's the commissioners who can, make these final changes. But it's not a county executive, it's a county administrator. And then taxes. I showed you that that slide that had the taxes that were for some going up, some were staying constant, some may have went down. All that is done currently by the commissioners. All right, by the commissioners. This one is the county council. That means so you still kind of have the same concept because the county council, the county executive is doing, they make a recommendation, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the county council that is going to render some type of decision or some type of legislation or change that's going to call for a tax increase in order to balance the budget. So that's really about the same. And using performance measures. Here, the executive must collaboratively work with all government departments to provide performance measures to be presented to the general public. So what's different about this one? If you work in the private sector, if you work in military, there are performance measures to doing your job. Currently, we don't have no performance measures for any one of the departments for doing their job. It's more or less they come report like, okay, yeah, we think we're doing a good job, but there's no metrics, there's no performance measures. Now, individually, there may be, that I don't know. But as a department, there isn't. And this must be made available to the public per the charter. The also environmental impact report. This kind of deals with the county administrator because currently they can prioritize. And that, well, actually, let me go back. We're looking at an annual report where, oh, I have a typo in there, where it's going to detail the outstanding environmental issues in the community to include but not limited to stormwater, drainage, and sewer. So what happens is that the county administrator sets their priorities. And that's where some people have had some issues. Commissioners don't set the priorities on what should get done first. They don't. Of course, they're going to say, oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, they may have a conversation with the county administrator, but they don't dictate or regulate nothing when it comes to what gets done first. And so what the county or what the citizens are going to get is they're going to now get a list. They must get a list or a report so you can literally see where the county executive is putting his priorities. So let's say you're, for those who live out in District 2, oh, we're being underrepresented. No one's taking care of us. You need to go to the county administrator and ask why. Not the commissioner, because the commissioner doesn't dictate who gets this stuff done. It's county administrator. Under the charter, the executive will dictate, but he also has to go through his departments. And he's going to have to present this report. He's going to have to explain it. So to me, and then the council can also address it. Like, wait a minute, why aren't you doing X, Y, and Z? There's a lot of scrutiny for one person to be under. So they're going to have to address it. And I think it's more manageable doing it this way versus handing it over to a county administrator who doesn't have to answer to the people. All right, key points of emphasis. And I already talked about this. There, as it stands now, there doesn't have to be any type of community report pairs, anything given to the public. But it does in the charter. County executive management. No, because the commissioner president doesn't have management. It's the county administrator who has that. Legislature. I think I meant legislate. I was both, yes, but the only difference is that they actually have to do some work, not rely on everybody else to do it for them. County executive lobby in Annapolis. As it stands, commissioner president can go, but he can't really lobby because then he has to come back and share it with the commissioners and they got to be on one page. No, we need one voice. The county executive should be the one that does that. County executive negotiates industry jobs and amenities. Same thing applies. County administrator, I believe, would do most of this. County commissioner president would just sign off, but it still would have to go through the other commissioners, and that's how stuff gets delayed under the charter. You don't have to worry about that. Separate police department. It's not in the home rule, nor is it in the charter. But look out, folks. People are going to say that it is, or it could be. Well, it could freeze. It could freeze in hell too. But you'd be basing on an assumption that there's all of a sudden going to be another police department. Do away with the fire department or the volunteer fire department, meaning that because we have a charter, that the charter will eventually force the all-volunteer fire department to be dissolved. No. What I will say is that, yes, the reason they use the volunteer because it doesn't cost the taxpayers any money, although we do give some money. I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm guessing it's cheaper to get volunteer versus getting paid. And then do away with EMS? No. That's not in the charter as well. It's not in the charter. So hopefully you had an opportunity, kind of went through a couple of things, but I encourage you to read the charter for yourself. So right here, and I'm going to end with this. It's kind of a repeat from the previous episode. Sorry, I got to check my time. Basically what he's saying is that his life experiences, political involvements, professional encounters, basically is letting him know that charter is no good. I'm just summing it up. It's no good. It's corrupt. It's all this other stuff. But I'm sorry, this is the same person who worked there for 22 years, has a pension, and these are the county executives that started it out. And you see that one, you see that one, you see that one, you see that one, and now you see these. Because some people will refer to as these people. This is when it all of a sudden became corrupt, I'm assuming according to Commissioner Bowling and others. This is when it became corrupt. But if you did 22 years, I'm assuming you started at the end of county exec Curry, or I'm sorry, at the end, or you at the start of Jack Johnson. All right, outside of Jack Johnson, you stayed 2010, 2018, and you stayed to the present. Commissioner Stewart stayed as well. So this is the question that I have for you and for those that are watching. If you were in a situation that was that corrupt and that messed up, why would you stay? But think about it. But you wait until you retire to all of a sudden start saying, well, I've seen it firsthand and it doesn't work. But it worked for you. You didn't mind taking that corrupt money. You didn't mind taking, you even did some moonlighting. You didn't mind. It just baffles me how people will talk like a dog. Well, I'm sorry, not talk like a dog. Talk about something like a dog, but yet they right there. They ain't left. Why didn't you leave? And this is just another one. We're talking about irresponsible taxpayer money, corrupt, blah, 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 all this other stuff. I think sometimes some people need to look in the mirror. And the reason I say that, big payday for corrupt politicians. Hmm. I, I, I'm just sitting here like, go to Commissioner Bowling's campaign financing, and you will see a list of residential and or commercial developers. And it's not a knock on them because I know where they stand. You also see some attorneys, real estate agents, realtors, whatever you want to call it. But Amanda Stewart would always say, follow the money. I think you may need to follow his money, see where his money at. Because if they're that corrupt, they'd be in jail. They'd be in jail. How you gonna be corrupt and not be in jail? I don't get it. So um that's pretty much it. So I hope that this wasn't too long. It was longer than what I wanted to be. But just imagine you have to read that charter for yourself. Read it piece by piece, page by page, but read it before you vote. That's the only thing that I ask. Read it before you vote. Once again, I don't care how you vote. Just be an educated voter. You're not going to hear me say, vote charter, or vote yes to charter. Like you hear some people vote no, no, but they can't tell you why. And if they do tell you why, most of the time they're lying about what's in there because they don't want to read it. So I'm gone. Sorry that it took this long. And watching in peace the beauty of virtual, of things that you can stop and pause because you don't have to sit there and look at it the whole time. So I'll come back to it later. And that's what I do with Netflix anyways. I don't look at the whole thing. But I appreciate your time. Be on the lookout for the next episode. I don't know when. But anyways, Peace and blessings.